Jack Lucas, the teenage Marine who jumped on 2 grenades to save his comrades. During World War II, the youngest recipient to be awarded the Medal of Honor was Jacqueline H. Lucas, who was only 17 years old when he received it for the courage that he showed in combat during the Battle of Iwo Jima. Jack was born on February 14, 1928, which meant that he was only 14 years old when he enlisted into the U.S. Marine Corps in August 1942. He was quite muscular and mature for his age, as he took part in a lot of sporting activities, but he forged his mother's signature on a parental consent form, stating that he was 17 years old. He enlisted with the Marine Corps Reserve at Norfolk, Virginia, where he was then sent to the recruit depot at Parris Island in South Carolina for his initial basic training. During this period, his instructors became aware of his outstanding performance on the shooting ranges, and he easily qualified as a sharpshooter. What they didn't know was that he used to attend the Edwards Military Academy in Salemburg, North Carolina as a cadet, where he practiced and developed his shooting skills. After a year of passing through various training camps, he was sent to the 6th Base Depot in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii on November 4, 1943, where he joined the 5th Amphibious Corps. When Jack arrived at Hawaii, other elements of his corps were preparing to depart for Tarawa, whilst other units were already deployed on the Gilbert Islands, the Marshall Islands, and the Mariana Islands. But Jack wasn't able to participate in any of these invasions. The reason for this was that the mail censors had read one of Jack's letters that he had written to his girlfriend back home, in which he had mentioned his true age by mistake. The Marine Corps were going to discharge him and send him home. But when he told them that he would just go and join the Army instead, they let him stay. But he would only be allowed to drive a truck about on the military base at Hawaii. When he learned that the 5th Amphibious Corps were being sent to Iwo Jima, he was desperate to go with them. So on January 10, 1945, he walked out of the camp in his service uniform and didn't return that evening for roll call. He went on record as being absent without leave and was put under suspicion of desertion. The truth was, however, completely different. When he left the base, Jack took with him his field uniform and boots. He changed his uniform and boarded the USS Duel. On board the ship was the 1st Battalion 26th Marines of the 5th Marine Division, departing for Iwo Jima. Jack self-willingly joined the unit so he could participate in the landings on the island. He believed that this would be his last chance to see action against the Japanese. For a long time, Jack kept his head low on the ship. However, on February 8th, he reported to the commander of the C Company, Captain Robert Dunlap, and told him what he had done. If he had kept on hiding for another day, he would have found himself on the list of deserters. Jack's case was considered by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel C. Pollock, in command of the 5th Marine Division. Impressed by the youngster's courage, Pollock decided to let Jack Lucas remain in Captain Dunlap's company, although he was actually unaware of Lucas's true age. His only punishment was a reduction in rank from private first class to private. Needless to say, Jack was extremely pleased with such a mild punishment. On February 19, 1945, along with the rest of the 5th Marine Division, Jack Lucas landed on Iwo Jima. The story of how Jack earned his Medal of Honor on Iwo Jima borders on a miracle. It was February 20th, the 2nd day of the battle. Jack was sweeping the Japanese foxholes and trenches with his comrades from C Company. While engaging the enemy from a trench, Jack noticed 11 Japanese soldiers emerging from a tunnel in a nearby trench. Immediately, the squad opened fire on the enemy, killing them all. Jack was so surprised how they came out of nowhere so suddenly that he fired his rifle from the hip at them. At one point, his gun jammed, so Jack looked down, trying to take out the cartridge that had got stuck. That was when he saw 2 grenades lying on the bottom of the trench in front of his comrades. In the heat of the battle, no one had noticed the grenades being thrown at them. There was no time to throw them back, so Jack yelled, "Grenades!" and dived towards them. He rammed one of them into the soft volcanic ash, covering it with his body and rifle, and grabbed the other one and shoved it beneath him. The latter didn't explode, but the first one did, and the blast threw him into the air. None of the other soldiers were injured. The explosion injured Jack's chest and lungs, as well as his neck and the entire right side of his body. Still, he remained conscious. He started to suffocate as his mouth filled with blood, and then his whole body began to go into convulsions. His comrades called out for a medic and started to move on when help arrived. The corpsman gave Jack a shot of morphine and bandaged his wounds. Suddenly, a Japanese soldier emerged from a hole and charged towards the pair of them. Usually medics were unarmed, but this one had a carbine. He emptied the entire clip into their attacker and killed him on the spot. The stretcher bearers carried Jack to the evacuation point on the landing beach. While they were carrying him, one of the bearers slipped and Jack hit his head on a rock, and when they got to the beach, he passed out. When night fell, he was transferred along with the other wounded Marines onto a landing craft. From the landing craft, Jack was moved to a cargo ship that also served as a hospital, where he underwent his first operation. He was then moved to the hospital ship Samaritan, and then on through several field hospitals, until he finally reached San Francisco, back in the States, on March 28, 1945. Jack spent the following 7 months in hospital, undergoing a further 22 operations in all. Jacqueline Lucas was discharged from the Marines on September 18, 1945. They informed him that he had been recommended for a medal, but he paid no attention to it. Less than a month later, however, Jack received a call to attend a medal award ceremony in Washington, D.C. on October 5, 1945. President Harry Truman presented him with the Medal of Honor. Jack died of leukemia in 2008, aged 80 years old. 8 years later, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the USS Jack H. Lucas, was named after this extraordinary teenage hero. Enjoy Conflict of Nations, the free online PvP game, and create your own strategy for taking over the world. To get an exclusive gift, click on the link in the description and get 13,000 gold and 1 month of premium subscription for free. Hurry up, because the offer's only available for 30 days. Choose your country, decimate your opponents, and fight your way to victory.